Carol Duvall, and welcome to my Christmas Crafts home video. I've selected some of my very special favorite Christmas projects that are guaranteed to bring some extra special Christmas spirit into your home. And they're easy to do too, for crafters and non-crafters as well. They're also easy on the budget, of course. Most of them will make wonderful Christmas decorations, and some of them will even make lovely Christmas gifts. So, shall we start? Long before the tree goes up, usually the wreaths go up. So we're going to be making Christmas wreaths like this one here, a beautiful green burlap. Now, one advantage to these, besides the fact they're pretty, is that they last. I made this wreath in 1977. Just change the bow and the decorations occasionally when they get a little dusty. But wreaths are not just for Christmas time, and because burlap comes in all different colors, you might make a beige one and decorate it like this for fall. Or one in white burlap for any time of the year and for different rooms in the house. But the one we're going to make right now is this little 12-inch bright green Christmas wreath. And these are the materials you'll need. 1 1/4 yards of 60-inch wide burlap, wire coat hanger, wire cutters, needle nose pliers, pair of scissors, and a ruler. Regardless of color or size of the wreath you make, basic directions are going to be the same. But for the 12-incher, we gave you the materials, and here's the sturdy coat hanger. I hope you can find a sturdy one, so many of them aren't these days. And we're going to, with our wire cutters, simply snip off the wire just on either side of the hook so that it looks like this. Now, if you are making one of the larger wreaths, 14 to 16 inches, then you're going to want a bigger hoop. So rather than cut the hanger, simply undo it, and then you'll later use this actually for the hook itself. In either case, you're going to then straighten out the wire, and this I think is easy. It's done just by hand like this, using your thumbs. Once you get it all straightened, then you're going to bend it again. Only this time we want to start and bend it into a circle. And again, if you will just inch your thumbs along it like this and the pressure, you'll be amazed in no time at all, you really will have just about a perfect circle. Now we want to put a hook on one end of this, just one end for now. So with your needle nose pliers, like this. Now we're going to put one on that side later, but not yet. So now we get rid of the wire for a while. Now we go to the burlap. Now, how much burlap you're going to need, we said on our list that you were going to need 1 1/4 yards. That's if you can find burlap that is 60 inches wide. If you can't, then you're going to need about 3 yards. You can see if you want it fuller than that, you can always get a little more. Now, for the wreath, the smaller one, we're going to cut the burlap into 4-inch wide strips. But we are cutting from selvage to selvage. So I've got this turned sideways. In other words, this is my 1 1/4 yards. Here's my 60 from selvage to selvage is down there. So 4-inch wide strips. Now burlap, you know, sometimes goes like this. So to make sure that you cut nice straight strips, what I do is mark it off in the 4 inches and then pull a thread at every 4 inches. Make a little cut there like that, grab up a thread and pull it. I've already pulled it here, as you can see, and here, as you can see, and do that all the way down. If you're making the large wreath, then you might want to make those 6 inches wide instead of 4. So, okay, you pull the thread, now you've got your guideline, you can see exactly where to cut. And you just do that until you've used the whole thing up. That's how many strips you cut. So now we have all of our 4-inch strips. Now we come to the messy part. Easy and fun, but messy, because we're going to fringe all this. We're going to just pull all these off. Now the easiest way to do this is to cut in on the top of the selvage, as I've done here, and do it at the other end too, leaving a space 1 inch wide in the center, because we're not going to fringe that. Now then, we just simply start and only pull 1 or 2 at a time, not any more than that. It'll get all knotted up. This is where you should not be wearing a navy blue skirt. What you should be doing is sitting naked in the middle of a sheet in the middle of the room, or else out in the backyard. Not naked, but out in the backyard, till you get it all fringed on either side with your 1-inch unfringed strip in the middle. And then again, as you did in the beginning, go pull 1 more thread down here. You don't have to do that, but we're going to put this in and out and in and out on our wire wreath, and it just, on our wire, yes, wreath, and it just makes it a little easier to see and to make a straight line. So now we go back to the wire that we bent, and on the unhooked end, we're going to use this like a needle and sew all the way down the center. Oh, 1 inch you don't have to be compulsive about measuring, but about 1-inch long stitches. And you just do that with every single strip that you have. By the time you get to the end, you'll not only be bored of putting that on, but you're going to be really, really squishing. That's okay. That's exactly what you want, because the fuller this is, the prettier it's going to be. Now let me show you. You see how full and nice and jammed up that is? All right, now we're going to put a matching hook on the other end of the wire so it's not going to slip off. These are great big hooks, bigger than you're going to need. But there you can see them. Okay, now you pull that all together, and then, depending on where you want to hang your wreath, you put a little wire around it. In this case, I would say, I'm going to put my bow down here, put a skinny little wire at the other end to hang it with. But that's your choice. And you can leave it just like this, or you can put some white lights on it, or colored lights, or you can put some ornaments in it, or you can decorate it in any one of the ways that you saw our big ones. Isn't that pretty? But wait, that's not all. There's more. Because you may be so enthusiastic you want to try another one. Now here is some lighter green burlap, and for this project we're going to make Christmas ornaments that go on the tree. Then I'd use the white burlap, or the lighter colored, or the red, or whatever, and only strips. This is about 1.5 inches wide. Again, we fringed it, left a little space in the middle, pulled one down the center, and for our wire, you can use any skinny wire, make it whatever size you want. Here's a paper clip that a big paper clip I straightened out and made my little wreath. So it works however you want it. And look at these pretty little wreaths that you can make. And then you can decorate these. If it goes on the tree, make them the light color so you'll see it against the green. But if you want to decorate it and put it on a package, it can be the dark green. Or if you want to put it around a candle, it can be a dark green. But whatever the size, they'll be round, and they'll be pretty, and they'll be Christmas. It couldn't be Christmas without angels, so of course we have angels, lots and lots of angels. But because we have so many variations, it would be a little tricky to give you a list of things you'll need, so we'll just start with the pattern. And for that you'll need 2 paper plates, some scissors, and a pen or pencil. Okay, so here are our 2 paper plates. I mean the real El Cheapo kind. And I usually draw around that circle just so I can see it better, because we're going to cut those 2 circles out. Now you will have them here. Those are, by the way, measure 5.5 inches, if that means anything. Fold each one of them in half, as I have here. Now one of them we're going to fold in quarters, because I want this to be about 1 inch smaller. So I'm going to cut about 1/2 inch off here. So instead of a 5.5 inch circle, I'll have about a 4-inch circle. One of these halves is going to be, comes to a little angle, that's okay. One of these is going to be the pattern for the arms, and one's going to be the pattern for the wings, which you can just put them on straight, but I fold it and cut just a little bit of an angle. So there we have our pattern pieces, the body, the arms, the wings. First angel, we're going to make out of a brown paper bag. These can be as cute as they can be. I mean the brown paper bag you bring your groceries home in. Press it out, trace around your patterns, and here's how you put them together. And a lot of you may have even done this basic angel before. Fold it into a cone, and then when you're doing your final ones, you might want to glue. I'm going to staple. Now, the arms can go on right now, glued on, and then rolled around like this and glued, whichever you find easiest. I find it easier to do it this way, separately, and put them on like this, and glue them or staple them. And then the wings get glued or stapled all together. And now you can decide if you want to really decorate this angel. You can, of course, glue all sorts of wonderful things to her. You can even just decorate with marking pens. She'd be cute. Now, I know she's going to get a head a little later on, but we have a lot of variations in the heads, too. Now we come to our fabric angel. I love these. And here we have our brown paper bag again, and the fabric. Now you can use spray glue, but I stay away from that. These are laminated with fusible webbing. Now you'll find fusible webbing in different types of it, in different kinds. Some you'll find in your craft store. Some you'll find like the Wonder Under and things at your fabric store. But what I tried the other night when I ran out was a plastic bag from the dry cleaners. In fact, even some plastic wrap. Put a layer in between and making sure that none of it sticks out to, grab your iron. A warm iron, they laminated beautifully. So now we have our little plaid angel. In this case, she has just a ribbon wing, just a piece of ribbon knotted in the center, glued on. Or here's an angel, all of hers of the same Christmas fabric. And then here's another couple of angels, and look, these came from Christmas cards. This card, I could get the wings, the body, and the arms. That's the way this one's made. This one I used a different card for her wings, variation. Well, that'll only get you started on the bodies and the wings, and we better talk about the heads. One version, the little wooden balls from your craft store, and some of this curly hair. A little thin, fine wire around that and through the top of the bead. Oh, and by the way, this is a good time also to attach your hanging cord if these are going to be hanging on the trees instead of sitting on the mantle. Pull it through and then twist it so that it's going to stay and hold. And of course you can, if you want to, put a face on. Now here's another kind that I've made. 2 little circles of pink felt stitched together, or any color felt, and embroidered faces. Put a toothpick in there because that's what's going to hold her head to the body. Or here's some made with nylon. You know, those nylons, you have all those runs in and they're not too much good. Little 2.5-inch circle, running stitch around the edge. If you've ever done any of the soft sculpture, you know how to do that. And this is simple. Couple of cotton balls in the center. Give it a pull. In fact, you might, depending on the size, put in 2 or 3 cotton balls. Basically, that's where you start to make the head on this one. And of course, she also has some wonderful yarn hair. The way I did that is just to take some 4-ply yarn and a needle and thread and just do running stitches through it. And then when you gather it up, you get your curly hair. And you can cut it, as we did on this one, if you want to. Oh, she's got to have a halo. Well, here's some stars that were cut from one of those star things that you see all over for decorating trees. Or she can have a halo. This was just cut from cardboard, and I used a gold pen. Or wonderful glittery chenille stem in gold. Well, you get the idea. Oh, and here's one. This one's just paper. And her halo is just a circle of yellow paper put behind it. But again, the toothpick. Now you can also make an angel, of course, out of doilies. We've got some of those on our tree. Cut the one doily a little bit shorter for the arms. Guess we better get some heads on these. We have a surprise angel too. Let's put some heads on our little angels here and see that we have our coffee filter angels. For each layer, use 2 of the filters, fold them in half, and do exactly as you saw us do. But here's one with the arms and the wings, but we want to make her bigger, bigger, bigger. So we have 2 more and 2 more stacked up. And in this case, she has a Christmas ball ornament for a head. So have angels throughout the house. It'll really be Christmas. Big Christmas packages and big Christmas wreaths need great big bows, but not all of us know how to make one. So that's what we're going to learn, how to make great, big, beautiful bows. And here's what you'll need. 3.5 yards of number 40 ribbon, a stapler, chenille stem, and scissors. I call this particular bow John Staple Bow because a fellow by the name of John taught me how to make this years ago, and I found it invaluable information. And staple because you use a stapler. Now you can make this, of course, in different sizes, but we're making it out of the big number 40 ribbon that most of you are familiar with. It's about 2 3/4 inches wide, and it comes in all different kinds of ribbon. Velvet and satin and taffeta. We're using the nice Christmas taffeta type. Okay, we're cutting 1 piece about 4 to 5 inches long. 2 pieces, 15 inches. 2 pieces, 17 inches. 2 pieces, 19 inches. And then a third one, 19 inches for the tail of the bow. And here's what we do with them. First one gets rolled over into a loop and stapled together to hold. It usually takes about 3 staples on this wide ribbon. Now the next pieces, all of them except the tail, we're going to do almost the same thing too. We're going to bring the ends to the center, overlap them by about 1 inch, and staple them together, but staple through all of the layers. So that actually what we have is like a pair of goggles, okay? Do that to all of the pieces except the tail. And so that you don't have to sit there and watch me just simply staple ribbon together, we've got mine all done here. Now the chenille stem is the wire that really is the easiest to work with as a beginner. Later on, when you get really proficient at this, you might want to use a skinnier wire so it doesn't show as much, but this is perfect to practice with, certainly. Okay, we start with our little coil here, and with the staples on the bottom, scrunch it all together. This weight ribbon, incidentally, which is like the taffeta, is the easiest to start with. You get with the velvet, it's a little heavy and your fingers want to fall off. Okay, now here's the smallest of the goggle loops. Again, with the cut edges on the bottom, scrunch it together and put it underneath. Now already you've got a pretty bow. Put tails on that and you're set to go. But we're going to go more. The next one comes under that, or you could stop here if you wanted to. Next one comes under that. You have to get adept at keeping all this in your fingers. And put this, you notice we're putting them, trying to get them at different angles. Incidentally, this bow is going to grow bigger and bigger because I've cut the lengths longer and longer. If you want just one round big bow, cut them all the same length. Well, you get the idea. We just keep adding and adding until our fingers are about to fall off, or until the bow we think is really, I'm not even going to add that last one. Let's just take a piece here for the tail. Scrunch it together and put that underneath also. Trying not to lose track. Now we take our chenille stem, find where our thumb is in here, put it through that loop, and it'll come down between our fingers and then around, pull it tight, give it a twist. And there, now you can let go. And now you can arrange and rearrange and puff and fluff to your heart's delight until you have the bow that you really want. And believe me, you will get it, even if at first it looks like kind of a mess. Now, to make those tails really nifty, put the two of them together, fold them in half lengthwise, and then with your scissors, just take a cut. And look at how beautiful that bow looks on a package. And of course you've got wires on the back too, remember, that chenille stem there, so that if you use a ribbon around it, you can just attach it by tying it. Look at some of the wonderful things that you can do with that bow. My daughter-in-law, their first Christmas and they had no ornaments, made just the two-loop one, and took some of these ornaments that come on a wire stem, and instead of the center loop, use that wire around there. Wired these to the branches all over the Christmas tree and then put some ball fringe. It was just beautiful. Or how about that special event? You know how big bows are in the hair this year. Here's one of black velvet ribbon, and this is craft velvet. It's much easier to work with, and with just a pin on it. But look at, if you want to change the outfit and you want to change the bow, how about a clip earring to go on there? Lots of variations there. And then of course with those wires, you can circle them around a candle. Here's with our ornament. And you've got a whole lineup of beautiful table decorations. That's why you want to know how to make a big bow. To make your pattern, here's what you'll need. An 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of paper and a scissors. Some of you may remember, as I did, how we did it when we were in school. That was good enough for school, but that's not good enough for Christmas. So here is how we make a perfect 5-pointed star with a piece of paper. This is 8.5 by 11 standard size typewriter paper or tablet paper. Fold it in half crosswise. Now, fortunately, this being a videotape, you can run it back and forth a dozen times if you don't get it the first time through, although this really is easy. Now we're going to take the folded corner up here and put it right smack in the center of the bottom edge here. If you want to make sure it's smack dab in the center, you either measure it or you fold it and make a little mark there. All right, so we're going to fold that down there. Then we will fold this corner over here so that it's right up against that edge, and this one right over there. So we'd have a nice triangle. Now along here we have a single folded edge, and here we have a double folded edge. So if we cut it on that double edge, we're going to end up with a star. Watch. With one cut. This is it's almost like showing magic tricks to the kids, and as a matter of fact to adults too. And there you have it. Now if you want to make a little star, you simply cut closer down. If you want to make a fatter star, you simply don't cut it quite as sharp an angle. So whatever size, or whatever shape you want your star to be, that's the way to do it. And then if you're going to make a bunch of them, the idea is you make yourself a pattern, trace around it, make yourself a cardboard pattern, and then of course you can cut many of them out. But to make them really, really pretty, how about making a 3D star? And that's really quite simple, because what you need to do is make all of the long points fold out. 3 of them already are that way, and the others you just turn and fold so that they match that. So all the long ones point out, and all the inside ones go in. You can do that with your pattern, or if you're doing it with the one you cut out, or if you're doing it on your pattern star, you simply take a ruler and go from point to point, and then with an X-Acto knife, just gently score, lightly score all those so that you'll get your crisp, sharp folds like this. So, there you have it. Now you know how to make a star with one snip of the scissors. What are you going to do with it? Well, let me show you some of the things you can do with that. Watercolor paper makes really nice stars. You can find tablets of it in different weights at your art supply store or office supply store. Here's some watercolor paper stars that I just sprayed with gold paint, or you can paint them with gold paint, and cut a little circle out of the center, a lot of little slashes around like this, and they're perfect to slip over a candle. So it doesn't look too impressive. Well, look at this, just nestled in some greens, pine cones. Why, lovely along your mantle or centerpiece. Cut some stars out of the last year's Christmas card you saved and put them on your packages in lieu of bows. Or make some glitter stars. The kids would love to make a bunch of these and hang them from the tree. And speaking of the tree, that's where we've put a lot of our stars. These are just plain white 3D stars cut out of the watercolor paper. But then, of course, we also have one that's made with the star of the family. This is 2 pieces that have been painted gold, a center cut out of one of them. And before we glued the 2 stars together, we put the little child's picture right in there. You can do it with yours, too. And then, of course, there's stars at the 4th of July and all during our patriotic times. How about a patriotic wreath made with our stars? And these have just had patriotic fabric glued to them. You can do that with fusible webbing or with real glue. My favorite is our evergreen wreath with a great big red bow, white lights, and lots of our 3D gold and glitter stars. I really like that. But I think any little girl would like to become a princess at Christmas or any time. And this is 2 watercolor stars glued together, made 3D, and just a dowel put in the center. So all of her Christmas wishes will come true. Kids love stamps and stamping. You know, kind of stamps like stamping this paper as we did. Adults love it too, obviously. All you have to do is check the Christmas catalogs and see how many stamp sets are available. Well, that's what we're going to do right now, stamp. But we're going to make our own stamps. And the price is a lot better than what you find in the catalogs. Costs nothing. Here's what you'll need. Foam trays from the grocery store, sharp pencil or a ballpoint pen, masking tape, 3/4 inch wide is good. Piece of cardboard, the kind you get on the back of a writing tablet, is perfect. A stamp pad and or acrylic paint, a brush or sponge, an X-Acto knife, scissors, and something to stamp on. Okay, if you have been saving those foam trays, you're set to go. Now, I'm talking about, of course, the foam trays from the grocery store, as I mentioned, but also those that you get the carryouts in will work beautifully for this. With the scissors, just cut the edges off so you have flat pieces to work with. Now, there are 2 different kinds. You can make a reverse or a negative or a, well, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I've cut a small piece of foam here. Now, to make my design in here, either a sharp pencil or a ballpoint pen. I'm going to do a Christmas tree. We're digging into the foam. And I have a hard enough time drawing a decent tree when I'm doing it right side up. So I'll save us both the pain and agony and go to one that I've already drawn, as you can see here. Now, after you get the design you want, this one I've added one more thing. I put ornaments on it by simply poking my pen in like this. Now, on the back, it helps to have a little holder so that you can pick it up like this. And all it takes to do that is a piece of masking tape, like this. And that, of course, sticks to the back of your foam like this. On some of them, as you get going on this and really turn this into a career, you might want to also put a piece of cardboard down there to make it really stiff. But in the meantime, here's how we go. Now here's where you will have to spend a few pennies. You'll need a stamp pad, or you can use acrylic paint. This stamp pad did get a little overworked, so it might be a little bit dry. But let me show you, give you the idea of how this works. If it shows up. Okay. There. There's my Christmas tree, and that's sort of the negative. Now, if you want the tree standing out, then you need to cut that out. And an X-Acto knife is really what you should use for that, to get nice, sharp edges. So that's for older kids and parents. So that, and then put that on a piece of cardboard, as I have done here. And you'll see exactly what I mean on this one. And this, as I say, once you get started, you're going to really, well, at least if you get as carried away with things like this as I do. And then, of course, you can color the lights or the ornaments on the tree with marking pens. I'll show you some final results. I even have ornaments where there wasn't an ornament. Now, for big ones that aren't going to fit on that tray, or for any kind, in case you don't have a stamp pad, and but you do have acrylic paint around, you can just use this. Now, on this little particular one, I also took a knife and went down in the background, hoping this would make it look like a woodcut, which it really does. And I've got some cards. You can make a lovely set of gift cards or note cards, as well as your own Christmas cards with these. Anything, if anything that's not moving really, practically, you can stamp. So you can see that you can get wonderful results if you really work at it, and you don't even have to work at it, because you know some of those foam trays have patterns on themselves. You can make all sorts of great designs. Or something as simple as a polka dot. My grandson was polka dotting everything. Or a simple little heart. And if you want to make that look really involved, again, you take your X-Acto knife and just dig into it like this with lines. And look at what a pretty heart you can get from that. That's exactly what I did. Here's where I got the idea. Except that this one is a rubber stamp that costs $8.50, and this is one I did that cost zip, nothing. Or even just a square. Look at it in gold paint. Stamp, stamp. Well, my goodness gracious, look at some of the things that we've done over here. You can just see I did get carried away. Gift wrapping paper. This is just ordinary shelf paper. Christmas cards, really pretty Christmas cards. Do them on watercolor paper. It's wonderful. With the tree ornaments or without. You can overlap the same design on one card too. Or do it in 3D. That is a little foam piece under there, and it's in lieu of a bow on a package. Gift tags, gifts themselves, a package wrapping, the world. Stamp the world. You've seen these little Christmas blocks in the stores and in the catalogs, I'm sure. They're a delightful little added touch to your Christmas decorating, or to give as a gift to someone else. Even more delightful if you make them yourself, and a lot less expensive. Here's all you'll need. 14 2x2 cubes of wood. Easiest, just go to the lumber yard and get a 6-foot length of 2x2s. Stain or paint, some sandpaper, stencil sheet with the letters of the alphabet on it, and a stencil brush or a sponge. This one's easy. You go to the lumber yard and get a 2x2, a 6 or an 8-foot length, however it comes, and let the man there do all the cutting for you. Well, you can do it yourself if you want to, but I think for a 6-foot or an 8-foot length, I paid $3 to have all these little cubes cut. Now, these are not really 2x2, but in Lumberville language, that's what they call them, 2x2s. So you have all these little cubes. And oh, by the way, get some sandpaper, because some of them you're going to have to sand off and smooth, and some of them you're going to have to discard. That's why I say get a longer length than you're really going to need cubes for. And then you can stain them. Or you can paint them with acrylic paint or enamel or any kind of paint you want to. But I stained most of mine, at least for this particular set. And then to stencil the letters, trip to the craft store or the art supply store to get one of these stencil sheets. Now, I thought it would be easier to cut out the individual letters since I was working on these small little cubes. Not so. I don't know why, but it just was not that easy. I found it really, in the long run, though it was a little tricky and a little awkward, but it really was easier to do it this way. In fact, it was even easier when I had somebody else hold the stencil down for me. Now, I'm just using acrylic paint and a regular stencil brush. However, I'm using more paint on ordinarily you would use when you're stenciling, you know, furniture or fabric or walls or anything. But not so much that the paint is going to run under the stencil. If you haven't stenciled before, practice a little bit, although it's not all that tricky. The tricky part is getting the letter on straight. and hope I came reasonably close. Well, reasonably close, but not close enough. But that's only for television. They'll all match up when I get to the set. And actually, you don't have to use stenciling at all if you don't like that look or if you don't want to bother, because again, at the art supply store, you can get, in fact, even at some drugstores, you can get some of these peel-off letters. They come in black and white and red and green and silver and gold and in all different styles and sizes as well. In fact, you can use stickers too if you would like to. I've used some stickers up here on the Merry Christmas set where I painted the blocks instead of staining them. I did do the stenciling of the letters, outline them with gold from a pen, and then put little stickers on the two sides. So they're kind of pretty. But wait a minute, there's a lot more than just Merry Christmas that you can say. Here we had fun with this one, coloring the blocks, all wild colors, the primary colors. A nice gift to give too. And these again are the press-on letters, and I just outlined them with a gold pen. And of course, while we're in the holiday season, how about some silver blocks with black press-on letters and lots of glitter to say Happy New Year. Bah, there's more than Happy New Year that this one spells. Make a nice gift to give this one because look, there just happen to be exactly the same number of letters in Happy New Year as in Happy Anniversary. So you see, you can just say blocks to say messages and celebrate the whole year. Well, that's it for this time anyway. I hope you've enjoyed these Christmas crafts as much as I have. I hope you'll give them all a try and keep that holiday spirit all year long.